What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Entrepreneurship Sucks podcast. Today, we're excited to sit down with JC Hite. He's the founder of Hite and a leader reshaping how entrepreneurs grow. Him and his wife, Karen, oversee two key divisions within Hite: education and investments, all focused on helping CEOs scale with stability and faith. On the education side, they lead major events and a high level mastermind. And on the investment side, they partner with companies that support sustainable growth, including their latest acquisition, Appreciation at Work, one of Dr. Gary Chapman's companies. JC, great to have you here. Welcome, man.
My man, I'm excited to be here. Let's go. Was just talking to someone this morning about how much entrepreneurship sucks, and then boom, we're on here talking about it. So
I love it.
excited to be here.
No, and actually, that segues me into the question I ask every single guest. Obviously, the name of the podcast is kind of polarizing. People have different reactions to it. Some people have even said, "I don't want to come on your podcast because it's so negative, and I don't do negativity." No, like you haven't been in the trenches enough. We're embracing the suck of entrepreneurship, and we are becoming who we need to become on the journey and the mission that God set us out on. And you have to go through it to get to it. And that is what we're here to talk about. So, JC, to start things off, man, I ask everybody the same question. What does entrepreneurship sucks mean to you?
Oh, one of my mentors, John Maxwell, says that everything worthwhile is uphill, right? And so anything worth doing sucks. I mean, you want to get into shape. I mean, that sucks. Getting up and go to the gym, passing, skipping the sweets, doing all the good stuff. That sucks. You want to have a great marriage? Well, that means you got to drop a lot of the things. You got to buy your wife flowers every once in a while. And if we're really honest, that sucks. Now, I won't mention my kids because people would hate me on that. But quite frankly, even sometimes that's like, gosh, I got to go home. I got to watch these kids, and they're mean sometimes. No, what we mean by sucks, or what I mean when I say it sucks, is that it's just a reality check. And I think as entrepreneurs, we got to be prepared for the reality of how hard it is. And if you're not prepared for that reality, you're going to have a wide, rude awakening as you get on the journey. And so we can embrace the suckiness of this entire thing, and we can do really, really well with it. But yeah.
Hey guys, the Entrepreneurship Sucks podcast is growing, and we have our first official sponsor, LeadFi. And instead of trying to tell you what LeadFi does and how much we love it, we actually just brought the owner of LeadFi here, Douglas James, to explain it to you.
LeadFi helps business owners identify exactly who is financially capable in their funnel in real time. We deliver crucial credit and financial information to include their exact credit score, exactly how much money they can spend on their credit cards, their annual income, as well as their debt to income ratio. We also have underwriting algorithms where we will underwrite exactly how much more money we can help raise for them in business funding. And we deliver all this data to you in real time into your CRM using just name, email, and phone number. This data allows you to also target higher end, high quality leads on Meta and Google, allowing your sales team to focus on high value prospects instead of wasting time on people that are not financially capable.
So if you have a high ticket offer, if you are on a sales team, if you're a closer, if you're a setter, get this in front of whoever the decision maker is if you like making money, because you will be able to have a stacked calendar and only be getting on sales calls with people that can afford your offer. No more tire kickers, no more people being able to lie to you on sales calls and tell you they can't afford it, smoke screen objections, none of that. Scale your offer with LeadFi today. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I love about this podcast is, I learned from Jim Rohn. Luckily, even though I grew up kind of, on the wrong path, juvenile delinquent in middle school, like I was just kind of lost. I only saw my dad on Sundays, but one thing that my dad, he was in network marketing when I was young. He had an 1,100 person downline, but I only got to see him on Sundays. Yeah, he actually, like, he used to run these Super Saturdays in New England. He had Fran Tarkenton come out, Jim Rohn. What's the other guy's name? I forgot his name, but anyway, yeah. And one of the things that he did that was like super impactful for me when I was a teenager, like middle school age, was
he introduced me to Jim Rohn and Les Brown, because that was his way of instilling the things that he wanted to instill in me the other 6 days of the week that he couldn't be there with me. And
Yeah.
that changed a lot for me. That really helped me to see that there was more beyond like the drinking and the things that were going on in my parents' life that I was stuck in. And it taught me like core principles, especially Jim Rohn. All of his teachings are very biblically rooted, right? And so when you mentioned John Maxwell as well, it's like the this type of thing is so important, of like what you've been through on your journey, how you overcame it, learning from not only your own mistakes but from other people's losses, lessons.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I learned very young, thankfully, from Jim Rohn. It's something that always stuck out to me. You can live one life and learn your own lessons one to one, or you can read autobiographies. You can listen to these types of motivational, personal development speakers, and you can learn from hundreds, thousands of people's life lessons, and really live a much more fruitful and impactful and just uh, fruitful life, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so let's start from the beginning with your journey.
Yeah.
One thing I always like to kind of get a gauge on is like, when did you catch the entrepreneurial bug? Because like I like the
Yeah.
movie Ready Player One, and like it's almost like Neo in the
Yep.
Matrix too. It's like when you come online for the first time, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so
I'm with
for
you. I'm with
me,
you.
entrepreneurship was like, I was in sales since I was 17. I didn't start my entrepreneurial journey until I was 28. So that 11 years was, I was crushing it in sales, but I wasn't online. I was still an NPC. I just didn't know it yet. NPCs don't know they're NPCs, right?
That's right. That's
And
right. That's
so
right.
until I came online and I became personally responsible for every aspect of my life, that's when it all started for me. That's when the journey really began. So I like to
Mm.
ask people, when did you catch that entrepreneurial bug? Because usually that's the moment, right? And
Yeah.
God likes to disguise a spiritual journey in entrepreneurship, because if he told you, come on a spiritual journey with me, you'd be like, oh, I'm good, I'm kind of chilling. But
Yeah.
if he's like, hey, come on this entrepreneurial journey, and then he takes off that Scooby Doo mask, and it's like, actually, this is a spiritual journey.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
when did that start for you?
You're speaking there. Biblically, it's like the story of Joseph in the Bible. He gave him this vision of prosperity and where he was going to be and how he was going to impact the world. And he did not give him the plan. The plan for Joseph sucked. I mean, it was he was thrown in the pit, sold into slavery, accused of adultery, and then thrown into prison. Right. And so anyway, just food for thought there. My entrepreneurial journey. I don't know when I actually knew I was an entrepreneur, but I'll just kind of give you a couple of thoughts, and we can dig into anything.
Just a side note, you can be as theological as you'd like. There's no, like, I
Okay.
don't have any barriers. I want to know the
Yeah.
true JC and in all of his power. So feel
I
free
love it.
to
I
be
love it.
open and genuine as to
Well,
yourself.
I won't hide anything. I promise, Kevin. I won't back down. But I'll kind of do the high level approach, and then we could dig in anything you want to. My mom was married 8 times as I was growing up. My parents were divorced, and so my mom was, we had a little bit of money, but we really didn't have much, and so that caused me to want to hustle. And so from a very young age, my friend and I, we did all kinds of stuff to raise money. I mean, we'd put a little basketball tournaments and charge everyone $1. We at one point were going and finding these like long walking sticks in the woods, and we'd carve them out and like embed them, embroider them, and sell them in the Indian shops up in North Arkansas. We would. Remember one time we created a club and we charged $20 to get into the club, and then all of a sudden my mom got a call from the police and she came down because apparently you're not allowed to have what they call pyramid schemes, and I just called a club. And so we were always doing the hustle thing. And I never was super good at school. And finally at 14, I decided to go live with my father, who had a very stable life, church every Sunday, every Wednesday. And so first off, just as a side note to the entrepreneurial, I was so blessed because I got to see these two different worlds at home. I got to see, what it looked like to not go to church and to drink and to have, many different spouses. Then I had to do what it was like to have like one spouse and church every Sunday and Wednesday and no alcohol in the house. And so I'm not that smart of a dude. So I just like to copy things that work. And I just saw that worked, and well, that didn't. And so, I kind of lived my life in that realm. And so as I moved to my dad's, my first big lesson, and you were talking about your father, and it reminds me so much of my granddad. So at 15, my dad worked in a factory and had a good job there. But every day after school, I'd go to my granddad's house and my grandma and granddad, and he did real estate investments. So we would actually get out the paper every Sunday. This is when papers, were the thing. And I would go through, okay, there's 4 or 5 houses for sale in our town, and we do the math and pencil to the paper, he would always say. And we would take out and do the numbers. What would the taxes be? What would the mortgage rate be? We didn't have a computer or a calculator that I remember. We had literally a mortgage a binder that you just kind of like roll out, and it shows you what your number are going to be. And then once, twice a week, it'd be like, man, this would be a good deal. I think we could. And he would always encourage me to he would just ask me, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And so we'd go look at the houses, and every time we'd leave, what do you think? What do you think? And then he would buy every once in a while, right? And I got to experience that. And I'll never forget. This was later. It gets better. Later, when I was 14, I was almost 15. We left one house, and it was a good deal. The house was for sale, let's say $62,000. We were going to be able to rent it for like $650. It was going to be like, and my granddad asked me, well, why don't you buy it? And of course, at 14, I don't know anything different. I'm like, well, okay, sure, let's do this. Now I know that I didn't actually buy it, but we went through the whole process. So we went and met at the bank. The head of Regions Bank in our area was an elder at our church. We met with the bank. That president sat down with me for an hour and talked to me about the loans and what the consequences are and everything. And I literally signed mortgage documents. I'm sure they were just thrown away. And we opened up a checking account with my granddad's name and my name. We're both John Hite. And I bought this house, and I had to fix it. I had to repair it. He helped a little, but he really, leaned on me. In fact, I remember at 14 years old showing the house. Can you imagine showing it to an adult couple of this is what it looks like, and funny story there. I would, I'd get my $650 in rent, and I would then pay my mortgage, which is $400, and my taxes, and then I'd spend the rest, of course. And he just let me. One day a tree fell on that house, and I learned what a deductible was, and that insurance didn't just cover things. So he made me sweat, and then he gave me a loan for the deductible, and actually I had to pay that back at 6% interest. And so that starts to kind of curate my deal, and then the story goes on, and kind of I'm gonna circle this back to your real question of when did I know I became an entrepreneur. But I started going, I got into the university, knew I wasn't going to do super well at school. So I got a full-time job actually working for Regions Bank, that president that I had met, and worked in Regions all through college, took a job after college working for them, but kept building the real estate portfolio. I don't think I still recognized that I was an entrepreneur at this time, but at 23, left the bank, I had about 52 houses in total, Cessna airplane, custom Harley, and I was living in Nashville, Tennessee. And that is when I started our world's view probably point of an entrepreneur. I started building a tech ed company, which failed miserably. Then at the end of that failure, I lost the real estate and got engaged to Karen. And I guess the order of operations there, I met Karen. We started dating. She was falling in love with this very wealthy, successful, beautiful man. And we got engaged, and I moved to Nicaragua where she was at. I hired a management company. I did everything myself. I hired a management company to manage my properties. And turns out they ended up in jail because they were stealing all of their folks' management. I wasn't paying any attention. I ended up losing all of that real estate. I didn't have to go bankrupt, but man, I lost it all. My wife and I, 1 month before our wedding, moved into the maid's quarters of her dad's house.
Mm.
Moved into the maid's quarters. And we spent our next year, our first year of marriage, in that maid's quarters of her house. Built a tech ed company, didn't make enough, and then finally found digital marketing, and the rest is history. But I probably really knew I was an entrepreneur, honestly, in those failure moments when I lost the real estate, because up to that point, it was just kind of like I was playing around. I was playing with my real estate money, and I realized, like, oh
Well,
wow,
and you're in momentum too, so it's like
yeah,
there's not really time to like reflect. You're in motion. It's like when things slow down or come to a screeching halt, that's when the reflection happens, when it's like, okay, you start to evaluate like what it is that you actually even did right, did wrong. Oh, I'm an entrepreneur. Hello.
yeah, because the real estate was like kind of a side hustle. I always had my job, right? And I view this because my stability, my mindset, my retirement was all in this stableness, right? And so I really wasn't dependent on my entrepreneurial side until I left the bank. And now all of a sudden, crap, my business just went under. How I've got a wedding to pay for. I've got a
What
brand
year
new
was this?
wife that has do what?
What year
So
was
this
this?
would have been, was it 2009? No, 2011, 12, 2012.
Okay.
2012.
2012 was a very, very, very uh life altering year for anybody who
Yeah.
was on a path.
Yeah. It was really, it was interesting,
Everybody talks about the market crash of 2008. I'm not talking about financially. 2012 was a very powerful spiritual year for
yeah.
anybody who was on a path.
Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that at all. And so that's when I first realized, like, well, no, I'm an actual entrepreneur, meaning that if I sell and win, I eat, and if I don't, I do not eat. And so it hit me really hard, but it was beautiful, man. It was one of the greatest things, seasons of my life for sure.
And it's incredible. Like it's I've been with my wife since I was 17, right? We got married when I was 25. I'm
That's beautiful.
41 now. So, but it's so incredible when you have a strong partnership,
Yeah.
how much stronger the partnership actually becomes in the tough years, when
Yeah.
same as business, right? Like you learn more um when you have when you're down to nothing, and you really have to come together and become something greater as a team, which is it's beautiful.
Well, and that's where every relationship you have, when things are easy,
Yeah.
that's not where we build. That's not where we grow.
Part is
Iron
when
sharpens
people
iron
run for
by.
the hills when things get tough, right? It's because that's where all the growth is. That's where all the connection is when things get tough. And when people
That's
like
right.
they jump ship, and you're like, oh, you're missing out on what we've been working towards now.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Incredible.
So we got to prove that relationship in the very beginning, and I'm so grateful for that looking back, right? As most people are, we always are grateful for our trials. We always, as entrepreneurs, we like to talk about embracing trials, but you
Yeah.
talk about suck. I mean, it sucked. In Nashville, I had the let's see here. I had an expedition extended length. Again, the custom Harley Davidson, a 4,000 square foot house with a music room and a piano and a pool table room and a little Cessna, little Cessna. I'm talking about, little Cessna airplane. Within 6 months, I was driving a Hyundai i10. I don't know if you know that. I don't think they even make them in the U.S., but an i10, which is like this big. It could have fit in the back seat of my expedition, and yeah, living in the maid's quarters of her dad's house, and so we could afford to pay our team and everything in between. And so it was really good. It was really good.
Yeah, that's incredible. And um so this is like 2012. You move from Nashville to Nicaragua,
Yeah,
and you're living in the maid's quarters. You're coming up on your wedding. So
yeah.
what's going through your mind? What's going through your heart? What are the things, like your faith is being tested, your future marriage is being tested, your ability to persevere through what you're going through as a man, as a husband, as an entrepreneur, is all being
Mm,
tested. Take me Bring me into your world in that
mm.
time, and who do you become? How do you find your way out of it? Like what is that, that turning point? Because and bring me through, like, there's phases, like you're grieving loss, right? And so, like, take me through those emotional, spiritual, mental phases.
Yeah. It's good. You know, Karen and I have had this conversation many times, and on several podcasts, we've talked about how we never remember in that moment ever being really distraught or sad or angry or anything. I lived with my mom in a trailer house, for years. Like the
Yep.
maid's quarters was nothing to me,
Yep.
right? Like I was married at that moment, or to a super hot chick, and that was like 90% win for me. And
When
but I
Matt
will tell you
hired
this.
when Matt hired me, I was homeless. I
Yeah,
lost everything.
that's right. And so I will tell you this, man, and this is like when we talk about scaling with stability, one of the biggest things we talk about is the marriage, because when the business is struggling, it's either going to be compounded tenfold, because every business struggles. Every business struggles. It's either going to be compound by 10x with what's happening at home, or it's going to be shrunk by 10. It's either going to be compounded or shrunk, right? And I was super blessed that I didn't like go out. Karen and I got engaged 6 months after we met. Okay. If I'm really looking back, I mean, it's such a God thing, because if my daughters does what we did, I would be so pissed. I'm like, there's no way you're marrying that guy. Like, you need to get to know him more, all this stuff, like we got married. There's so many funny stories, with that. And so,
When you met her,
here we are. Do what?
when you met her, did you know, like, I'm
I
going to
knew.
marry her?
No, I mean, like, so the tech ed company, I'm wanting to create the tech ed company. I'd left the bank. I'm wanting to do that in LATAM. So I went to Guatemala, Honduras. I went to Chile, Ecuador. I was traveling all around researching for this tech ed company that I was going to create. And I didn't go to Nicaragua. So I reached out to the university that I graduated from. I said, hey, who do we know in Nicaragua? They gave me two names, a guy and a girl. Obviously, I messaged the girl, and that was Karen. And I literally messaged her and said, hey, my name's JC, been to all these countries, thinking about coming to Nicaragua. I would just love to jump on Skype at that time, Skype with you and just chat through it. She come to find out, she was very skeptical, like, who is this dude? I don't even know you, but she got on Skype. She asked a couple of friends and we got on Skype. At that moment, I'd never met, even though we were at Harding at the same time. And we got on Skype. Kevin, don't take away my man card on this, but we got on Skype at 7:00 p.m. on a Thursday night. And we got off of Skype at 7 a.m. the next morning.
Whoa.
We literally talked 12 hours straight. And I told my best friend the next morning, like, this is what happened. And just FYI, I'm marrying this girl. And so she broke up with her boyfriend 3 days later. And then we got it. We again, the rest is history. So fast forwarding there,
So
she never complained. She
today,
never.
I want to let you know, though, like, there's some sync. I remember you said when we first connected, like, there's something here, right? Like, we got to connect. The day I met my wife, I went home and I told my grandmother that I'm going to marry this girl.
That's so crazy. That's so crazy.
We didn't even start dating until 3 years later.
Well, let me tell you a funny story. So she lives in Nicaragua. I live in Nashville, right? So, like, even through that 6 months before we got engaged, like, I was going down there every 2 weeks. I was, I was traveling a lot. But, let's see, 3 months in, I invite her, hey, let's go visit my family in Arkansas, which my family and where I'm from is the same town where we all went to college, right? So my wife knew that city and knew the university, and my family was there. It's so, again, this part of my family, very white, very, picket white fence, blonde hair, blue eyes, church every Sunday, like, I'm kind of the weird one out because I kind of came in at like 14, 15. Anyway, it's just kind of different. So, and I was like the 2.1 GPA. All my sisters got scholarships, all this stuff, right? So I bring in my Karen to the deal, and we're just got there. This was like, let's say, a Thursday afternoon. We walk in, and my family's, my mom's playing host. Everyone's like really excited. JC brought home a girl. Maybe somebody will take him. And so we're in the living room, and my sweet mom comes in, and she goes, okay, Karen, so, didn't know everything you like. So I ended up making this chicken casserole and some all this stuff. And Karen looks my mother in the eyes and says, ooh, actually chickens are one of our gods in Nicaragua. And just is silent, like, doesn't say haha, doesn't like laugh, just like straight up. And my mom goes, oh, okay, and like walks out, right? And so I'm sitting there, my dad's sitting there, Karen's sitting, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I mean, like I never really talked about her gods in Nicaragua, this is sucks. And of course, now I'm like another failure from my family. And everything's kind of a little awkward and quiet for like 30 minutes. And then we go into the kitchen, we all sit down to eat, and we say the prayer. And my wife just like starts to pull out the chicken. My mom's like, no, that's the chicken. She's like, I was just joking with you guys. And like, boom, hit it off. Everything was good. I breathed for the first time in 30 minutes because I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so,
You
anyway,
didn't know
I,
that she was messing with them?
I didn't, we had never really had a conversation about
That's
gods of
amazing.
Nicaragua. You know what I mean? And so, like, and I'm used to kind of letting down, my family at times. Again, I was the odd man out, but so I'll go back to like that maid's quarters, and Kevin, like, she never complained. She was never frustrated. She never, and dude, man, for the first year of our marriage, when we decided to go fancy, we went to the in Spanish, it's Super Siete, the gas station, and we
Yeah.
would get a chicken strip meal at the gas station, and that was our like
Yeah.
fancy food. That
Yeah.
was the like, oh man, we had a good week. We're excited. We're celebrating. And I remember the first time we went to like the big steakhouse in the country of Nicaragua, and we were like, holy cow, this is. And we just started growing and scaling from there. We could talk all through, that the rise up, so to speak, and several other really sucky parts, along the way. But you learn as an entrepreneur, especially when I do partnerships. I've learned that suckiness and sucky seasons are just part of it. It
Yeah.
cannot change who we are as people,
Mhm.
and it's not our identity.
Yeah.
But we struggle with that.
Mhm.
We would like to think we're good, but we really struggle with the sucky parts. And anyway, yeah.
I love it. Dude, there's so much to unpack in there. But I wanna I wanna talk more about like that season. So
Yeah.
what is the next move? Like, you guys are in the maids quarters. How long are you there for? What gets you
Yeah.
out?
Yeah, it was a full year there. So I
Yeah.
was running a little tech ed company. We had about 5 employees. I was in Nicaragua, so I'm paying them like $600 a month. We're selling so many users. I mean, we are like, we made a big contract with HP, another big contract with Dell, where like every computer sold in LATAM was with our technology in it.
What
Like
was the
like it
tech?
was so freaking cool. We were so broke. We weren't making money. We were selling those contracts so cheap it wasn't even funny. I mean, we could barely, keep up. And so Karen ended up working at a resort, but then got the opportunity to go work for this marketing company. At that point, I didn't really know, like I wasn't in this world. And this marketing company was starting to grow, starting to take off, and they really wanted her to come in, and she came over to work for them. And immediately they started recruiting me as well. A really good, not a religious company. We can talk about that here in a second at all, like the
Mhm.
opposite in some ways. And so they kept offering me, JC, come on, come on. Finally, they were like, we want you to come in as like a partner. We want you to take a minority share in the company. We want you to lead all of this aspects of the company. And potentially they were looking for someone to come in and be the CEO. And the compensation package I got from there covered all of my team, and I still made money on top of that. And
Mhm.
so I went to work. I went to work for them and took on again a minority. So I mean, I was a part of the ownership group. There was 5 of us in total. We grew that agency to 300 employees, 350 employees, only doing Google ads, and
Mhm.
it was nuts. I
Yeah.
mean, Google was every Super Bowl during that season, we got tickets to, like sweet tickets to. Every World Cup, every the Olympics, passed through that season. So every 4 years, we got tickets to the Olympics. Like we were crushing it. I remember, there's seasons where I was like, hey, we want to do a big campaign, and we'd like for the winning team to take them to the Caribbean islands for like a 3-day trip. Okay, cool. How much is that going to cost? I don't know, like 60 grand. Cool, done it. It's on us. I mean, it was nuts. It was nuts. And so we were
300
at that business.
employees sounds like such a beautiful nightmare. How did
Oh,
you
it's
how
chaos. I mean, well, okay, so Wolf of
like
Wall Street had nothing on us, just so
yeah.
you know. It was nuts. So I mean, like, and I gotta say this hopefully freely, but like, my deal was I'm okay. I'm man, I just want to go wherever God leads me, and I'm there, and I love everyone. I've been on every side of the street. I've seen heroin, cocaine, every type of addiction you can, and I love those. I'm just a really unjudgy person because of my background and where I grew up, and I grew around people that struggled in so many ways, but I
Yeah.
thought we're still good people. And so I was really good at justifying it. My wife and I had great salaries, great income. We were trying to do a big exit. It was nuts. But like cocaine, heroin, drugs, you name it. I mean, the top sales guy every week got hookers, like literally on the company. Like that was on the board. Like, here's the top winners this week. I mean, it was nuts. And my department, I ran it a little bit, cleaner, and, we were a little bit more whatever, but we only hired in our sales division. You're a big sales guy. We only hired deported folks. So like, think all of the deported people out of Miami would come, perfect English, normally a hard life, a hard time getting. Those are the guys we wanted as those front end guys, right? And they were good dudes.
Yeah.
Just rough around just didn't know Jesus near like I did. And so, I mean, one time I was walking on my floor, and we were leading, and I like food. And if you've got food on my floor, I feel like I have, rights to it. And so I ate a bunch of cookies off of this plate. Turned out they were spiked cookies, like just craziness. Anyway, So we were hiring like 10, 15, 20 college students every month, every quarter coming in.
What are we talking about here? You ate spiked with what?
Marijuana, like not heavy spiked, but just marijuana, right? And so just all this fun craziness, right? So we were hiring these people. My wife and I get pregnant, and that's what everything shift. So we are 2 months away from having my baby. The three main owners are having all this. One ended up sleeping with the other one's wife. Two of them fired the other one. And then that one came back and partnered with the other one to fire the other one. I mean, it was just, everyone hated everyone, even though we were by the book, like ridiculously successful. So we're 1 month away from Karen and I having our first child. And it just hits us. I mean, God just really put it on our hearts that no, you're not light in the darkness. You're not like salt to the earth in this place. You're literally helping this thing grow, and you're bringing all of these kids in and showing them what it was. And we were very our rule was we would hire and we would fire 50% within, the first 4 months. We want to bring everyone in and get rid of the bad, and these guys would leave their jobs and careers to come work for us or start off. And it was just really, really tough, and again, the company grew. There's so many good things about they were if I was betting on me making $1 million this year and them making $1 million, I'd bet on them over me. Okay. They knew growth as good as anyone. And I walked in one day and was like, I'm out. I'm sorry. And there was conversations at that point about me leading the company, and no, I just want out. I'm sorry. And so here's the options. Here's my equity. Here's da 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 da. I got a non-compete, which kind of sucked. And so they made me offer to waive my non-compete if I would give up my equity. And I was done. And I walked out that day without a job, without an income, with a baby 1 month away, with no insurance, no car, because they gave me a Toyota whatever car. And that's it. And I started Hite Digital at that moment, and ended up within 1.5 years, within 2 years, I think we were about 75 employees, and they were down to about 70 employees. We were starting to pass them. So this would have been 2018, 19 when we started Hite. We started Hite. Actually, it was the day after or the day before my birthday in 2018 when I walked out the door.
That was another very pivotal year.
It was another pivotal year, man. And
in our world as well. We were at the peak of our success with our Shopify store, as I mentioned before we hopped on.
Yeah.
We were in the top 1% of Shopify stores in the world for traffic.
Wow.
Fashion Nova was copying our ads and our products. And we had just gotten invited. It was February of 2018. We just got invited to the Super Bowl gifting lounge to be in the celebrity gifting lounge, representing our brand, giving out our swag to the celebs. And cool. In the 2018 Grammys. We were doing, I think we were still riding the wave of Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that wave of marketing, because I put so much money into it and I kept doing promotions every week, well into April, we were still making 50, 60 grand a month off of that
Wow.
that momentum in marketing. In
That's crazy.
February, the week I was supposed to fly out to the Grammys, my grandmother went into the hospital with rapid onsetting dementia. I canceled the trip and stayed in the hospital with her for 62 days. Um,
Wow.
she would have died if I didn't. God put it on my heart that if I leave this hospital room, she is going to die. And God helped me find what was wrong with her. You know, it's so interesting how at the peak of my success in the Shopify world, the main thing that was important to me, the mastery that I needed to learn in that year, was conversion optimization, right? Because when you're driving hundreds of thousands of visitors and an average Shopify store converts at like 3%, a 1% jump in conversions means multiple
That's a
five
deal.
figures, right?
Yeah.
And so I went all in and just geeked out to master conversion rate optimization in the months leading up to that, so that by the time my grandmother went into the hospital, I was a master at digging through information and finding like where the bottlenecks are, what other people are not seeing, right? So we have neurologists, primary care physician, specialists, the entire hospital, everyone all trying to figure out how this rapid onsetting dementia happened over the course of 2 weeks. She went from being her regular self to being almost full-blown dementia, like didn't know where she was, couldn't stand, couldn't function. And it took a month, I'd say at least, of them like sending her home, giving her antibiotics. She's doing a little bit better. I'm like, she's not better. This is a like false positive. She's back in the hospital a week later. And ultimately, with my skills in like conversion optimization, really is the skill that saved my grandmother's life. I uncovered that the one test they didn't want to do on her was a spinal culture, because she was lucid and she was combative because she was scared and she didn't know what was happening to her when they were doing blood work. So they're like, we're absolutely not giving her a spinal culture. She'll paralyze herself. She moves, right? But I uncovered that she had been going to the chiropractor for the past year or so, getting cortisol shots in her spine to relieve sciatic nerve pain in her lower back. And so what had happened was she had Lyme disease in her blood. She had it for years. She's a gardener. She'd always getting bit by ticks. She had Lyme disease, but that's a blood disease. There was no but what had happened is that injection into her spine pushed the Lyme disease on a microscopic level into her spinal fluid, and it hit this. It started this slow inflammation that hit an exponential tipping point that caused her to go from just, her body was just kind of fighting it to like maybe she got the flu. I think she got a flu shot, and that's what spiked it, because her body now had multiple battles to fight at the same time, and she went into this rapid onsetting dementia. But ultimately, there was Lyme disease in her spinal and brain fluid that caused this inflammation, and if it had gone another week, she would have died. She was lucid in front of me. I'm holding her hand. She's talking to me about being at this mansion. There's this party. There's this guy named Pete. He's asking her to come inside, but my grandfather can't go with her. She's talking me through this.
Wow.
And the veil between the spiritual realm and our third dimensional reality was like, wax paper thin for her. And she's like, it's really happening in real time. She's telling me about this in the hospital bed. And I'm like, no, don't go in there. She's like, oh, it looks really nice. They're having a nice, wholesome party. She's like, well, actually, on one side they are. And then on the other side, they're like having sex and doing drugs. I'm like, Grandma, I'm pretty sure that's like the waiting room. I'm like, I don't think that. I'm like, let's just come back. It's not time, right? And she said no, and she came back.
That's crazy.
Yep. So
That's
crazy.
crazy, man. That's
But
crazy.
ultimately,
It's a big
Interestingly
year.
enough, the irony of like I was supposed to be at the Grammys, but instead I stayed with my Grammy. Um,
Yeah.
and I lost the business. I lost everything. We were pregnant with
Oh my.
twins. We were at the peak of our success. We decided 7 years after having our first child that it was time to have another. We got pregnant with twins, one and done. Like, just let's try. And next thing we know, we're pregnant. And we lost our condo that we had been renting for 7 years. We lost the business. We're now, COVID is here, and we can't even get jobs to try to
Mm,
figure this out. Um, and so we're living with family, with newborns, pregnant, and then newborns during COVID. Um, and like back at my mom's apartment where I swore I would never go back to just because of the way that I grew up. I was
yeah.
like, I'll be successful and I'm never going back to poverty again. Right. And yeah, it was
That's
absolutely
crazy.
insane. And then, long story short, ultimately, COVID, the restrictions lift, and I fly out to Billie Jean's headquarters. I told you that whole story before we hopped
Yeah.
on. And then that's what led me to being a closer for Matt Decino, and led me to starting this business. And then,
That's so
everything
good.
else since then.
That's so
Insane.
good, dude.
And then I found
So
out
good.
after the fact that Matt's parents live in Portland, Connecticut, which is the town I grew up in.
Small world.
After I was working for him, he's like, Portland? He's like, my parents live in Portland. I'm like, that is insane.
Small world. Small world.
So
Mm.
crazy. So you guys, you so you build this business, but it's not. I don't know what's the best way to put this. It's not serving Christ in the way that you're
Yeah. I
intended to.
mean, my values and their values were not aligned,
Yeah.
and that's and I have nothing against those guys. I
Yeah.
mean, whatsoever, dude. They were so good in so many ways. They paid a lot of money to a lot of people. I mean, we were known for our golden handcuffs, and I think they did the absolute. I mean, my granddad, when I was younger, he told me, JC, never expect Christian actions from folks that don't follow Christ. That's
Yeah.
stupid. And so I just really don't. And so, but that doesn't mean they're bad people.
Yeah.
It just means,
I didn't
I don't.
until I was 31. And honestly, I think I'm grateful for that because, like you had mentioned, the contrast of being wealthy when you met Karen versus losing it all. You guys, you have this. Uh, the pendulum swings in both directions, and you have this contrast
Yeah.
of like you don't know what you don't want until you deal with what you don't want, right? Or you don't know what you truly
Yeah.
want until you deal with what you don't want. So like you went through that, and you didn't let it make you a judgmental person. You didn't let it make you
I was
close
very
off.
judgmental at the time, though. I was a little frustrated, with everything, and it wasn't pretty. It wasn't exciting for me to
Yeah.
leave, and but it was a calling. And again, all the owners were. Within a year of me leaving, 5 of the 6 owners were
How,
were were gone. Right?
how do you feel that I've had that happen before too? And it's a testament to what you brought and
Yeah.
in your absence, right? But also, I want to ask you, how did you feel? Because it's really tough when you're a person that is, um, you know, uh, I feel like you have a lot of similar character traits that of myself. I see like where you'll go all in and you'll put your all into something. And how so like I have been working a lot over the past few years on forgiveness for people that like did the best that they could in the moment, but and I don't know if intentionally or unintentionally really like left me in a bad place by just like the whole non-compete for your equity. How did that feel?
Honestly, it was the best thing that ever happened, because I
Yeah.
got to go start my own business, and that was
Oh,
a heck of a lot better than keeping the equity. And so my business was worth way more than theirs, and I had 100% of it, pretty quick, right? In fact, most of my leadership at Hite came from that organization,
yeah.
and so we when 2 of the owners were really good friends of mine, and when they left, then it was all hands. Like I went after them, and I went after the best people, right? Not after them. I went after the best people. I will tell you this: when I was doing that, if anyone interviewed for Hite and talked bad about that company, we would immediately not hire them. They were unhirable for us. We only wanted people that would say something, man, I love it over there,
Yep.
but I love what you guys are doing more,
Yep.
And so, which helped us curate this culture that we wanted. We had a daycare in our office. In the other building, we weren't allowed to have spouses in the building because there was too much drama,
Yeah.
and we didn't want to deal with that. And so, I would say, you talk about forgiveness. Like I find it easier to forgive folks not in my family than in my family. I don't know. I have a
Yeah.
problem. I am also someone that I am very quick to walk away. I don't like drama. I
Yeah.
really hate drama, and I have no. There's nothing in me that says that because you're blood or because you're a partner or because you're whatever that I need to put up with and stay in a drama environment. And so when there's drama, I go silent and I'm away as much as I possibly can.
Yep.
And
What
I
is
just
the
don't.
differentiator between drama and challenges that you need to overcome together? Differences in
It's a great question.
vision, or like, because I've been in situations with people in the past where
Yeah.
we're like, we have to go through it to get to it, and I'm fully committed to working together to get through this thing, and
Yeah.
their interpretation of it is this is too much drama and like it's time to move on. And
Yeah.
I have, because I've been through a lot of drama growing up, I know what
Yeah.
drama is versus like challenges that
Yeah.
we need to face and we need to grow through. Those are not the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. And just keep in mind, I'm not a perfect person at all. I have so many flaws, it's not even funny. But I would say the difference between the two scenarios is about the focus.
Hmm.
Um, Drama, people in my mind, when I'm talking about drama, they focus on the problem,
Yep.
right? Like, oh, I'm poor, or I'm this, or I have like it's a state of being almost, and we're feeling sorry and
Yep.
talking about and honing in. When a real partnership is growth minded, like, okay, where are we headed? All right, how do we get there, and what are we lacking to get there? Right? It's focused
Yep.
on the vision and mission and where we're going
Yeah.
more so than the problems, right? I've been in these calls where it's like, all right, guys, here's the game plan. Oh, that's I don't I just think that has a low probability of working. Okay, cool. What's another plan? Oh, I don't have one. All right,
Yeah.
cool. And so we're just going to talk about the bad in this. The only scenario we've got right now, we're just going to focus on the bad of it versus, all right, how do we make it work? Like, what's it going to do? I think, but I think it's about the intentionality behind the
Yep.
conversation and where its focal point is.
Yep.
And I'm a positive
Are we
person by
focused on
nature.
a solution, or are we focused on the problem? Because focusing on the
Yeah,
problem is only going to exacerbate the problem. It's going to create more friction, it's attracting more. And it
that's right.
applies to a lot of things, right? It's like, do you have a scarcity or an abundance mindset? Are you
That's
an
right.
A player or a B player? Like, it's an energy that is,
That's right.
it can either, it's really,
That's right.
yeah, it's about focus and attention. Yeah, intention and attention. Where attention goes, energy flows, right?
That, you're yes, that's right.
I love it. So all right, you're bringing in some of the guys from the old company. You're scaling Hite. We're at what we said, like 2019,
That's
2020
right.
now.
Yeah, give or
Okay.
take. Yeah, so we're starting to grow, and at that moment, we just did white label. It was like, I don't want to sell. I just want to fulfill. Let other agencies sell, and that's
Oh.
what we grew. We grew white label, and then I met a
And
gentleman.
is this white label like GHL SaaS at this point? When does,
No,
because I know you guys
PPC,
I know
PPC,
you guys do
SEO,
the
Facebook
DHL
ads.
world. That's how we came together. So
That's
I
right.
don't
Yeah,
know
and we
when
do a
that.
lot of stuff with high level. Love high level. Love the leadership of high level.
Yeah.
But we're just doing PPC, SEO, Facebook ads, like good old boy Mark. Like at this moment, we're not even in this like digital marketing guru world. Just so we're clear, like when we were going to events, it was like a Google event or a Bing event. It wasn't a high level or ClickFunnels or like it was a very like corporate-esque event at this time,
Mhm.
right? I remember the first time I went to like um I think it was Traffic and Conversion Summit. I was like, wait, what is this? This is interesting. And so we started growing that. I met with a mentor of mine, and he really didn't know the marketing world at all. And he was talking about white label, and he was asking just like, so you do that, you do that, and like, and he asked me, he's like, so it's kind of like a franchise, but you just don't let them brand yourself. And that was an interesting question for me. And I started really digging into this franchise world. Like, what would it look like if we banded together? And I'm a people person. Like, I love, like, man, if everyone just lived at my house, and like I would thrive in that. My wife not the same, but me, I love people. So this, man, what if we did? What if we grouped together 40 or 50 agencies? I mean, we're all doing the same thing, right? Like, we all have the same mission. We're all trying to make money. Like, but then we like centralized a lot of the stuff that we don't want to do. That would save us a lot of money, increase our pricing. Together we could be, and all this stuff. And holy cow, it worked so well. We went to 27 franchise. So we had, let's say, 115 white label partners. And within 6 months, we had 8 franchises. And those 8 franchises were producing more revenue because we then produced all the product for those 8. We were doing more revenue than we were with 150.
Franchises, but then like how many franchisees? Like for anybody
No, we were the franchise. We had 8 franchisees, right?
Okay.
And those 8 franchisees.
Okay.
And then within,
like you went to Smoothie King and they had like 150 locations around the country.
We were the franchisor. So Hite Digital became a franchisor. And the idea was like, okay, agency, you need systems, you need tech, you need all this stuff. What do you want to be doing? Man, I want to just be selling. That's what I need to. Okay, well, what if we just took over all that stuff? We sold 27 franchises in a 2-year period at $50,000 each, 8% royalty, doing all the stuff, right? And dude, it was nuts. It was so good. 17 of our 27, I think in our last FDD, like 16 of our last 27 franchises hit $1 million within year 1 in revenue. They had really good profit margins, all this good stuff. And I remember getting on the call with Michael Gerber, and he wrote the book Eat Myth, and did a lot of great stuff. And Michael looked me in the face and he said, JC, just wanted you to know this will fail and you need to get ready for it. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, this will blow up in your face. And I was like, dude, Michael, you old man, like, you don't get it. Let me re-explain this to you, what's going on. He's like, I get it. I know exactly it will fail. And he told me why. And he said, he actually backed me up and he said, so an agency out there, they're doing 15, 20,000 revenue. They become a franchise, right? And do they have to use your product? I'm like, yeah, they get to use our product. Like, we have it all streamlined. It's all built in Salesforce. Like, we have QA, we have training, we have like, of course they get to use ours, but they have to. It's like, yeah, they have to. He's like, well, what about systems and tech? Can they like build their own? I'm like, dude, like, we're fully built in Salesforce. We have all this stuff. Like, trust me, they don't want to use, like, it's insane what we've got. I mean, we'd spent probably $1 million on Salesforce alone at this point, right? I mean, it was nuts. And but they kept going, kept asking. He's like, well, why does an entrepreneur want to be an entrepreneur? I was like, I don't know. They want freedom. They want choice. He's like, exactly. You could make them so much money, it's not even funny. But they're entrepreneurs. You're going to have 27 cats running around, all wanting to do different things. And then he said they will have so much success and they still will be so pissed off because they'll be in a box, beautiful 5-year profitable box. And every little thing that's wrong, they'll get pissed off of. And he called it. And then he said, you know what's going to make it worse? And I was like, what? And he said, your leadership style. I got really offended at that one. He said, your leadership style. He said, JC, you're a people pleaser, meaning that every problem they have, you're going to want to fix. Every idea they create, you're going to want to let them do. Every single nuance that they have, you're going to fill it. A good CEO won't care. They'll be like, sorry, this is what you're doing. Get over it. But you won't. And that is going to be your final destruction of this. And we spent the next 2 years going from franchise model with 27 franchises back to being direct. So not white label, not this, but just a direct organization serving clients, $3,500 to $5,500 packages. And it was tough. It was probably one of the toughest seasons because it was, you have a certain amount of franchisees that just, they don't sell. It's not working for them, like they wouldn't work in or out, or whatever. And you have some that are so successful, but they don't like one thing, or they don't like this, or they feel like, oh, I could maybe do this better on my own, or you have, it's just all the different nuances, right?
Yep.
And so, again, you're always pivoting, you're always shifting, right? We are pivoters, we are shifters. But the interesting thing is even though we pivoted the model, everything about us remained the same. What do? PPC, SEO, Facebook ads, and websites from day one. We did it in
Yeah,
a white label. We still
those
do
are
the
the
same thing.
pillars, not the strategies, right?
There
Those are
you
the
go.
principles of your success. That's the foundation of what you built upon. The
That is
strategies, the
exactly right.
offers, those can change, right?
That's right.
That's knocking down a wall and making like on the redecorating shows, like we're gonna blow out this wall and make an open
Yeah.
floor plan. Like that's that stuff, right?
Yeah. And
I
it's
love
tough,
it, man.
man. And that's where, we talk about stability, right? This is again going back to my marriage, going back to my faith, going back to my core set of friends, right? Like, because partnerships, marriage ends in 50% of the time. You think partnerships have a higher success rate? No. Partnerships has a very low success rate in terms of partnerships. And when you're in those tough times, it's really difficult. It's really difficult. I mean, the only way you're in a marriage because of love, but most partnerships, they want to make money, like they want to grow. And it's really tough, man. So tough. But we're in a season of growth. We've started acquiring other companies. Our latest acquisition was one I'm really excited about. It. Our clients are, Capital One, the IRS, the state of Texas. We have like some of the largest organizations in the world that work with us. One of our latest clients I'm really excited about. I don't know if you've heard of them, the Savannah Bananas,
Yeah.
And so it's a very different type of very corporate organization, and it's doing so well. It's been super exciting.
That's awesome. I love it. So obviously the big shift in everyone's world now is AI.
Yeah.
As we talked about before we came on, I kind of went all in on AI before AI
Yes.
really like hit mass adoption, right? And then when ZappyChat had integrated the OpenAI API integration back in November of last year, that's when everything really started to get momentum for us. And it's been amazing being early adopters. But so like how has AI shifted your offering, your focus, your trajectory? 2026, how has that impacted everything for you over the past year and a half, 2 years?
My answer will probably be different than almost everyone in here, and maybe there's someone that would relate to me versus someone else. So one, we're using AI in every element, but we're just using it to do better, more efficiently, more affordably than anything else, right? Pay-per-click, content, SEO, PPC, Facebook. I mean, we're using AI in every single bit of that, but we're still doing the same thing. We're using it to just make ourselves, again, better, more efficient. I've got so many friends. Even at our conference that we've got coming up in April, I've got, I think, 4 or 5 really top AI guys coming in to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I am I'm a copycat entrepreneur. I'm really not an innovator. It's just not my style. And I watch these other guys figure it out, screw it up, fail, suck at life. And then I just copy the ones that are working. And we're not quite ready to copy yet in everything. There's just so much chaos. And so I'm kind of sitting by the sideline, which means a little bit different for me than most. And it's just because I'm not focused on it. I feel like because I'm not focused on it, I will never win the pack with AI. And so because I'm just waiting to see what everyone else does. And so we're integrating. Every time we see something interesting, I've got a couple of people on my team. I got a really good AI guy on my team that's speaking in Washington and traveling to all these events and things like that. But I'm probably one of the weakest links when it comes to AI on my team, mainly because I'm focused on some other stuff, right now, so to speak, like a couple of acquisitions that we're doing. And I have an obsessive mindset. And so once I get obsessed with it, I think it's going to take over my world a little bit from what I see with other guys. There's just so much and so many. Gosh, every day it's changing. It's crazy to me. It's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of people that are just like going all in on AI and like going through the wild west of what we're dealing with right now, and then there's people like Mark Zuckerberg who are just gonna like wait until we're like close to the finish line and then just throw a bunch of money at it and jump to the front of the line pretty quick.
Yeah, one thing I think in our world, I'm more focused on attention right now than anything else. And so how can I use AI to gain eyeballs? Gary Vaynerchuk, you mentioned him earlier, and just attention. And how do you gain attention
And
in
where's
this
the
season? I'm
undervalued
also,
attention is a really big thing, right?
yeah, and I'm also investing heavily right now in the opposite. Everyone's trying to do the AI thing. We're really heavy in events right now and
Yeah.
investing in that. I see that becoming uh, uh, I see that going up in value over the next years, in person
Yes.
touch. We just invest in this book, right? The 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace.
Yep.
And
Yeah, that's
how
what
do we
I
love on?
mentioned. That's why I moved down here to become the Nashville captain of the Speakeasy Mastermind, because
That's right.
like I like to look 3 to 5 years ahead while everybody's focused on what they're doing this quarter, maybe this
That's
year,
right.
right?
That's right.
And I already see the pendulum swinging post COVID, then AI. Everybody is already we're on the opposite upswing already of people
I
just
think
being
so.
sick of being stuck in the house, sick of being on Zoom. I'm taking the podcast in person. I'm doing the mastermind. Like I'm really, I went all in on AI in 2022. Really, now I'm all in on leveraging AI to go more in person.
Right. Relationships. Yeah, I'm the same way. And so, yeah, it's a really fun season for me. I'm also, man, I'm having a lot of fun with my family, trying to travel more, trying to do some things like that. I turn off my computer. I don't have any of the social media on my phone. Built a campfire last night with my kid. I made,
Yeah, I think that's how we
hot
connected to do
dogs.
this interview. I think, right? Was it the Ray-Ban Meta AI sunglasses, or
Oh, maybe
you
that's
bought a
what it was.
second
Yeah, yeah.
phone to compartmentalize your life? And
That's
I'm like,
right.
oh,
That's
I've been
right.
doing that for
I
years, man.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so, yeah, and I actually am ordering. I have an appointment in Oklahoma to go and see about the new Ray-Ban Transition. I don't know, what are they, like $800 or something like that? I don't know. Do you
Oh,
have the ones with the
the new
screen
ones?
inside?
Yeah, these are the indoor outdoor transition lenses, but these are the initial, like the Model
The
One,
Gen
like
1.
Gen 1. So the new
All
ones,
right.
I bought them like 2 months before the new ones came out. I'm like, oh,
Ah.
that's all right
Well,
though.
now they even
I'll get
have
it
the
regardless.
third option, which is what we got, which has like a wearable band and it's
Yeah,
got the
it's
screen
like
inside.
it's screen and lens and stuff. I
And
don't know.
so
I don't know how deep I want to go. I might just stick with these.
I don't know. I was thinking the same thing, man. So anyway, we'll see. I'm gonna test them out, go in
I
for a
got
demo.
20/20 vision. I'm not trying to ruin it with a screen 3 millimeters from my right eye.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I like that. I like that. Well, you're the expert, not me. So I may take your thoughts. I've got the appointment. I'm gonna do the demo, and we'll see what, because you got to go in. You got to go in person for those. You can't
Oh
just order
wow,
them
that's
online.
cool.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So
So
this is good
um,
though. This is really good.
so tell me a little bit more about the acquisitions. Tell me a little more about, and the audience, about like what's 2026 look like for you and Karen, the businesses,
Mm,
and like who's an ideal person to reach out, and
yeah.
might be a good fit to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, man. I mean, we are focused again on entrepreneurs that want to grow, but as a secondary, right? Like the first thing, they don't want to grow for the sake of their faith, family, health, and people that really mean it. Don't just say it because it's a fun word. And so everything we invest in is focused on that, right? The reason we bought this company, which the headliner is the book, we just sold 800,000 copies of this book. We just did 800,000. You know how many people sell 800,000 books? Not very many.
No.
And
Yeah.
because it's a tried and true long
I don't know
term.
what the measurement is in book sales, but that's like a platinum album almost. You're
It's
coming
it's
up
a
on
lot.
platinum.
It's a lot. We're number 2 with Moody Publishing, and we're still selling 3 to 4,000 books a month to
That's
this
awesome.
day,
And
15
that's a
years later.
testament to your ability to run paid media, correct? At your at
We
Hite.
run about $1,000 a month in paid media for that
Oh
company.
wow.
It is a testament to the quality of work. We are, dude. I mean, we've had over 450,000 organizations buy from us over the last 5 years alone.
Yeah.
450,000 organizations. We sell assessments at $20 each. Again, we're government approved. We work with most government entities. We work with all the military entities. We work with some of the largest organizations in the world: Deloitte, Caterpillar, Capital One. I mean, it's very large organizations. And so it's the book, it's the assessment. And then on top of that, we have this new thing we just launched, which is the certification, becoming AEW certified, where we come in and we test employees and we work with those companies to try to increase culture. With AI, one of the biggest elements of AI is that we just 10x'd everything. So your most important employee just became 10x more valuable, right?
Yep.
Because with AI, they can do that much more.
Yeah.
On the other hand, your worst employee, your least valuable employees just became 10x less valuable, if
Yep.
that makes sense. Because again, the top liners, which means organizations are now going to fight more for those top guys.
Yep.
We're going to see salaries of those top guys. I think we're going to see the biggest division between the classes over the next 6 or 7 years, because again, we don't need those people.
Yep.
And so appreciation at work is all about how do we build a culture and relationship that we build this value is based on appreciation. If we value someone, if we feel valued, it's based around appreciation. How do we connect in the greatest way? And it's so simple. Most things we do in life are so simple. We just don't do them. You want to get healthy and abs, stop eating sugar and fast food, and go to the gym every day. It's not, you want to have a good marriage, like bring your wife flowers once a week, go on a date once a week, and don't yell and kiss her every night before you go to bed. It's not, most of the time, it's not rocket science. It's the fundamentals that we get really screwed up on. And this book is about the fundamentals that you can actually implement and change around. So we bought the book, the assessment, the rights, everything. We're now scaling a coaching program on the back end of that to really get inside and really help organizations scale with stability. And then, of course, we've got our big event in April. We got John Maxwell coming in. We got Ann Byler, the founder of Annie Ann's. We've got Christy Wright, one of Dave Ramsey's big personalities that did incredible work. We got Adley coming in. She's over there in Nashville Girl as well. And we got Daryl Eves.
Building up the mastermind now. I didn't want to send Adley an invite until I had a larger group, but I think she's in the pipeline. So
there you go. She's great. And then we got Daryl Eves, the co-founder of The Chosen, and super excited about him, coming in. And so our everything for us is education. We want to give as much away for free as possible. People come to our events. I think there's some of the bigger events that are more affordable, and we really pride ourselves on the quality of our events. And then beyond that, we're just investing in companies that serve our focus, which is helping people scale with stability.
I love it. You mentioned something that really stood out to me, because obviously I've been in the AI space since 2022. If you count when I worked for Matt, Zappy Chat wasn't true AI until the API integration came out. It was built on Google Dialogflow back then, but that really was still like my first, the foundation of me getting into AI. So we can say 2021 or so if we want, but really, of all the conversations, hundreds, thousands. I mean, I ran support calls 3 times a week for Zappy Chat for 1.5 years, almost 2 years. I ran a Thursday support call for High Level. I've had probably thousands of conversations about AI. You are the only person I've ever talked to that has shared the perspective on AI that I do, which is the gap, the division that is coming. And so one of the major things, and this is something that you are doing in your space, but this is something that has been a core principle of what we do on the sales conversion mechanism side of things with our custom built AI solutions is, like, I'll give you an example. We have one company that we worked with for about 1 year. When they came to us, they were doing about $150 million a year. They were an alternative business lender, and they had a 55-person sales team. They had accumulated about 600,000 leads over the past 3 years or so that, they were competing on about 12,000 new leads every month. They had to run through the leads. If they didn't convert in the first week or two, they were just kind of going in a virtual recycling bin to be figured out at a later time. Right. And so when they came to us, they were going to double their sales force. They were going to go from 55 to hiring 30 to 50 more salespeople. And they were going to have, those new salespeople work those 600,000 leads they accumulated over the past 3 years. And instead we came in and, for a really nice price at the time for us with $30,000, a 60-day project. And we built out an AI system that could work those leads and nurture, segment them, and reactivate them and book them onto that existing sales team calendar. Now,
Yeah.
the whole reason I tell this story is because over the course of the next 60 days, they booked another like 2,000 additional appointments on that original sales team's calendar. And here we are a year and some change later. They have not hired. They're on pace for probably 250, 300 million now, and they haven't doubled their sales force still.
Wow.
And so when you think about those people, those salespeople that got them to 150 million over the past decade, how would they have felt if you gave all their leads, those are their leads, and you gave them to new people, and the new people are making more money than they are over the And so now my goal, I've been in sales since I was 17. So when I went into AI, I'm like, how do I empower salespeople to make more money? All the busy work, the 80-20 of what it takes to have a consistently nurtured pipeline that is, well maintained versus what the revenue producing activities are, that 20% of like cash collecting and closing deals. How do I give the sales team leverage to be able to spend 100% of their time on the revenue producing activities without taking a loss on the other 80% that is necessary but not directly tied to cash collected? Right. And so what happens with a sales team like that is, even at a smaller scale, if you have a 10-person sales team, let's say I closed for clients and communities for a little while, and they had one closer, six setters, right? And so that ratio is like, okay, your top two setters are like kind of hybrid, closing the calls that the main closer can't handle at certain times, right? So when you incorporate a system like this, now you're able to now promote those best two setters into a closing role. Now you have three closers, and you can take the bottom three setters that aren't really performing, and you don't have to rely on them as so heavily, and you're kind of overpaying them. Your margins with them are pale in comparison to the margins with the closers, right? And so now you have a system in place. You move those people out. Now you have two setters. Instead of having 100 conversations a day, they're monitoring 1,000 conversations a day each, right? And now you have more leverage and more scalability. So I noticed the way that you explained your approach to AI, the leverage that you're giving, you're 10xing the ability of the top reps, the top players in each department, and you're 10xing you're exposing the issues that you're paying for with the bottom few, right?
Yeah.
And it is such a distinct perspective on how to leverage AI that I've never had a conversation with another individual in that way. I'm the only one that has ever viewed it that way.
I'm not normally known for my innovative AI thoughts, but I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, for me, I guess it's a testament to, whether it be AI or something else, it's a testament to your fundamentals and your pillars that you are the foundational elements of what makes someone successful in business, right?
Yes.
The way that you view anything. So
That's right.
I love that, and I wanted to point that out and make sure that
I appreciate that.
that you are recognized for that, and going forward in conversations with people, know that's one of those polarizing things where if they don't see it, you might want to take into consideration why.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. Super good point.
I love it, man. So, all right, man, we're coming up on time. I could go all day. This has been one of the best interviews I've had in a while.
Great.
I'm very, intentional about my guests, but the way that this conversation has flowed and the things that you've shared have been just so aligned with the things that I believe and the things that I, stand on. So this has been awesome. Guys, we're going to wrap it up here. You'll have all the information, ways to get in contact with JC and all that stuff on the respective platforms. And JC, thanks for coming, man. Appreciate you sharing.